Hello, friends, and welcome to Sleep Tight Stories. Every week, we celebrate our supporters through shoutouts and personal birthday messages. We think this is also a fun way for us to hear about all the amazing places that you, our listeners, come from. Happy belated birthday to Mina from Eugene, Oregon on October 1st. Love Mom, Dad, Junebug, and Boo. Hope you had a wonderful 8th birthday at the coast, and we are so proud of you. Happy belated birthday to Rowan, who turned 8 on October 4th. Mama, Dad, and River love you so much and hope your Harry Potter birthday dreams come true. Happy belated birthday to Blake Cox in Atlanta. Your mom and dad love you so much. Happy belated birthday to Ava Tully in Waukesha, Wisconsin, who turned 7 on October 12th. Mom, Dad, Emma, Ava, Bruce, and Louisa love you and are proud of you. Happy belated birthday to Camilla from London, England, who turned 6 on October 9th. Mommy and your little brother Cassiel love you more than anything in the world. You're the very best big sixter we know, and we hope this year is glittery and fun-filled. Happy belated 7th birthday to Anna on October 9th in Ambler, Pennsylvania. Mom, Dad, Charlie, and Rosie love you so much. And a happy belated 11th birthday to James and Jack from Mom, Dad, and the cats. They are so proud of both of you. Happy 6th birthday to Amelia. Love Daddy, Mama, and Asher. You are a funny, smart, kind, and special girl, and we love you. Happy birthday to Ira. Amma and Baba are amazed by how clever, talented, and kind you are. They love you. Happy birthday to Ivy from Baldwin Park, California. Love Mom, Dad, and Tommy. We love you and can't wait to see the amazing things your creative brain comes up with next. Happy 9th birthday to Edith from Minnesota. Love from Mom, Dad, and brothers Buster and Roscoe. Happy birthday to Julianne in Edmonton, Alberta, who is turning 8 years old. Dad, Mom, Byron, and Barkley wish you the happiest birthday of all time and the sweetest birthday cake ever. Love you very much. Happy birthday to Aubriance, who is turning 7 on October 13th. Mommy loves you and hopes you enjoyed your birthday trip. Looking forward to all the years she has to watch you grow. Happy birthday to Eileen on October 15th. Mommy, Daddy, and Ozan love you very much. Happy birthday to Felix from San Francisco, California, who will be turning 7 on October 16th. From Mom, Dad, and Harper, who love you and are so proud of you. And happy 5th birthday to Alden in Louisville, Colorado on October 21st. Mom, Dad, Louisa, and Grandma love you. Keep exploring your love for learning. Happy birthday to you all. To reserve your special shout-out, please visit sleeptightstories.org/support. We can't wait to celebrate with you. Now, on to our story. Red cannot believe her eyes. There is no way this charm on this necklace could be a homing beacon. How could it have gotten here? And these pictures? When her mom comes into her room and sees the picture and the chain, she turns very pale. And Red knows that she is about to find out more than she had counted on. The Transfer Student, Part 27. Red knew she shouldn't have opened the box before bed. She didn't like any kind of excitement before it was time to sleep. Something blue exploited endlessly, even on Mars. Knowing she wouldn't want to retaliate, he would tease her constantly before bed. If she did get upset, she'd struggle to sleep, and the next day would be a mess. Now, as her mind spun with revelations, Red doubted she'd fall asleep for a week. First, there was the realization that Dr. Hart was far more important than she had ever suspected. And now, the unsettling involvement of her parents, especially her father. Why hadn't they told me? She felt betrayed. Could I even trust them anymore? Red didn't want to leave Mars in the first place, but she knew the truth. Her home couldn't support its population much longer. That fact had been taught in schools for as long as she could remember. Most Martians work towards solving the problem, but so far, no real solutions had been found, except to leave. Her mother interrupted her train of thought. "Sorry, Red. I know you don't like these kinds of conversations before bed," her mother said, noticing Red's paler than usual face. "But there are some details you should know." "Details?" Red's voice came out sharper than she intended. "Details like you and Dad lied to me? You said you didn't know Dr. Hart and that we came to Earth because of the lottery." "I didn't lie to you, Red. Neither did your father," her mother replied, her voice steady but tinged with concern. Red wanted to interrupt, but her mother had years of practice guiding conversations, though she often failed when it came to Blue. "At first, I didn't recognize the photo of Dr. Hart. It's been so many years, and I didn't know her well." "That was more your father's area, cultivating allies and helpers on Earth, while I worked on solutions to keep us on Mars. Your father's work focused on emigration. I believe Dr. Hart was one of their earliest contacts, though, if I recall correctly, not one of their most reliable. She wasn't exactly predictable." Her mother's calm voice always had a way of soothing Red, even when she was upset. Still, with tears welling up in her eyes, Red fought for control. Martians valued emotional control above all else. "I don't understand," Red said, her voice softer now. "Let me back up a bit. I can't tell you everything," her mother hesitated. "In fact, I shouldn't be telling you anything at all. But with our futures at stake, the AID takes these rules very seriously. As you've studied, there are two major factions working to help Martians survive. The first, which I belong to, focuses on solving the environmental problems on Mars so we can return to the surface. Our habitats have improved, but the ultimate goal is to make the surface livable again. The habitats have strict limits on the number of people they can support. That limit has been met many times over the centuries. You and Blue were both destined to join my work, at least until we won the lottery. We've known about Earth for a long time. We're far more advanced in many ways, and there was even a time when we considered simply landing here and claiming a part of Earth for ourselves." Red frowned. "That doesn't sound very friendly." "No," her mother agreed. "It's against our Constitution now. And besides, We didn't have the energy resources to even attempt it back then. But the other faction, the one your father joined, they've been researching energy solutions and they've been far more successful. That's how we're now able to explore beyond our known space. Part of their work led to the creation of the lottery. Red listened, a knot forming in her stomach as her mother continued. Some Martians have been selected to move to Earth and integrate into society. It's a secret for now. Can you imagine the chaos if it became known that Martians were living among Earthlings? I know, Mom, Red said with a yawn. They drilled that into us before we left. There's a lot more to explain, Red. I don't know why Dr. Hart kept a record of her contact with your father's team. I don't know the extent of her involvement, but I do know that your father, when he was very young, was part of the team that came to Earth to build those relationships and lay the groundwork for the lottery. But you need to sleep. Sleep? How am I supposed to sleep? Red's mind was full of questions, and her mother's short explanation only left her more confused. Yeah, I'm tired, Red muttered, and Mr. McCaskill certainly won't let me nap during English, so I should get some rest. We'll talk again tomorrow, her mother said gently, leaning in to twinkle noses with Red, a Martian gesture of affection, similar to an Earth hug. As her mother left, Red lay in bed staring at the ceiling. She didn't feel any closer to understanding the truth. In fact, she felt even further away. For a scientist, her mother certainly was good at diplomacy, at least the kind Red witnessed on Mars, where, when the people were upset, leaders would come in and talk and explain things. This often had the effect of diffusing whatever tension there was, but afterwards, everyone would realize that they often wouldn't get the kind of deep answers they were looking for. Red took a deep breath and sighed. If her mother wouldn't or couldn't give her the answers she was looking for, then she might have to look for the answers herself, with the gang's help. Red glanced at her clock, an old-fashioned one with dials that helped her adjust to the Earth's shorter days. It was late, and though her mind was buzzing with questions, she knew she had to try to sleep. The moment she closed her eyes, she fell asleep. The next morning, her alarm went off and she quickly got out of bed. I can't believe how quickly I fell asleep last night, she mumbled to herself, feeling oddly refreshed. After getting dressed, Red swiftly packed the box that contained Dr. Hart's photographs, documents, and strange objects. She hesitated for a moment, but decided to keep the picture with her father in it and the mysterious charm, which her mother still hadn't explained. Heading to the bathroom, she was surprised again by how clean it was. Blue really is changing, she thought, but quickly dismissed the idea. Nah, he's just planning something else to get to me. Hey, Stinky Head, Blue's voice rang out from downstairs. Mom said to hurry because breakfast is ready. She also said you're stinky. Red heard him giggle, and while usually this would annoy her, she found herself smiling. If this was the extent of Blue's teasing now, she could live with it. After getting dressed, she grabbed the box and headed downstairs to the kitchen for breakfast. Good morning, Red, her mother said in her usual cheery tone. I made some maple oatmeal and hot chocolate for breakfast and packed you a lunch today." Her face betrayed nothing about their conversation the night before, as if everything was perfectly normal. Red grabbed a bowl and sat down at the table, where Blue, predictably, stuck out his tongue at her the moment she looked his way. "You stinker," she whispered. "Takes one to know one," Blue shot back with a grin. Red finished her breakfast at the same time as Blue, which was unusual. But today, she wanted to get outside early. Earth teachers often encouraged students to get fresh air when they were stuck on a problem. And though Red wasn't stuck, at least not in the way they meant, she figured a moment outside might help clear her head. As she stood at the bus stop waiting for the yellow monstrosity to appear, Red found herself watching the neighborhood come to life. People moved in and out of their homes, rushing off to work, walking their dogs, or chatting with the neighbors. They all seemed so normal, so completely unaware that there was a Martian standing right there among them. But instead of feeling like an outsider, as she often had, Red noticed a new sense of connection forming. This place, with its yucky green lawns and noisy birds, was starting to feel almost familiar. Maybe Earth isn't so bad, she thought. She still had her questions about Dr. Hart and her parents' involvement, but she wasn't facing it alone. She had friends here: Alexa, Rachel, Charlie, and even Kurt. Together, they were going to solve this mystery. And Red was determined to figure out what was going on, no matter what it took. The big yellow monstrosity noisily screeched to a stop in front of her house. Red stepped onto the bus, greeted by the usual cheerful "Good morning" from Mrs. McDonald, the bus driver. There were more empty seats at the front than usual, and Red assumed there must be some virus going around, keeping kids at home. Earth, she thought. Before arriving, she had been poked and prodded with so many injections against diseases, she'd practically lived in waiting rooms. But her place was at the back of the bus with Rachel and Charlie, who, unlike the others, looked perfectly fine. Carrying the box made her slower than usual, and she didn't make it to her seat before the bus hit the inevitable speed bump, her head bumping the ceiling. Ugh. "Is that Alexa's box full of Martian ray guns and stuff?" Charlie asked. Whatever concoction his mom had fed him must be working. For once, he didn't have a sniffle. "Yes," Red replied. "I need your help convincing everyone that we should keep investigating Dr. Hart. Maybe we can call a meeting at lunchtime." "Yay! I'm glad you're finally with me on this. But I thought you said there was nothing interesting about it." "Since Mr. McCaskill thinks we should turn this into a group writing project, it wouldn't hurt to dig a little deeper." "Cool," Charlie said, nodding. "But just so you know, I was kidding about the Martian ray guns and stuff. Sort of." Rachel, her glasses nearly falling off her nose, set her book down, turned around in her seat and said, "Yeah, right. All you've been talking about is green creatures from another planet. It's all those classic movies you've been watching." "I read books, too," Charlie retorted. "Not as much as you, but I do read, you know." Rachel raised an eyebrow. "You really want to keep digging up more information on Dr. Hart, Red? Forgive the pun. You seemed pretty bored with the whole mystery. Actually, come to think of it, you seem bored with most of the things we do in school." Red didn't know how to respond. She thought she had been pretty good at faking enthusiasm for schoolwork that was far below her level. "Don't worry," Rachel said, smiling. "Your secret's safe with me." "My secret?" Red asked, feeling slightly alarmed. "Yeah," Rachel said, turning back to her book. "That you're super smart, like me." Red stepped off the bus and squinted at the overcast sky, the crisp air biting her face. Another gray day on Earth, she thought, tugging her hoodie tighter. Gray skies are better than blue, she thought. The school building loomed ahead, ancient red brick, once unfamiliar and daunting. A few months ago, Red would have approached it with dread. Today, however, it didn't feel quite as alien. It felt routine. "Morning, Red," Mrs. McIsaac called out from the entrance as Red walked by. She had started noticing how the teachers greeted her every morning now. "Have a great day." Red nodded back, murmuring, "You too," more out of habit than anything else. As she walked through the crowded hallways, the usual hum of chatter filled the air. She slipped past a group of kids, their eyes glued to their phones, and made her way to her first class. Red slid into her seat, carefully setting the box with Dr. Hart's documents beside her. She had meant to leave it in her locker, but she wanted to look through it one more time during break. Her mind wandered briefly to the photograph she had kept, the one with the person who looked eerily like her father. "All right, class," Mr. McCaskill's voice boomed. "Today we're going to talk about narrative structure." He paused, glancing directly at Red. "And I hope everyone's paying attention." Red sat up straighter, determined not to let her mind drift. She had no choice with Mr. McCaskill. Any lapse in attention would immediately be noticed. He spent the rest of the class explaining how to structure a story, throwing in his usual corny jokes about the English language. Red chuckled a little, even though no one else did. By the time the bell rang, her head was buzzing with questions about Dr. Hart and the strange clues she had left behind. "There's something I'm still missing," she thought, glancing at the box one last time before heading to her next class. Math and science passed in a blur. Red couldn't help but zone out during lessons she had mastered long ago. She pretended to take notes, but her mind kept drifting back to Dr. Hart and the strange discovery of the charm. Why would someone hide a homing beacon in such an old, seemingly insignificant box? When the lunch bell finally rang, Red felt relieved. She made her way to the cafeteria, spotting Alexa, Rachel, Kurt, and Charlie sitting at their usual table, already deep in conversation. Charlie looked healthier than ever. No sniffles, no sneezing, just enjoying his lunch. "There you are," Alexa waved her over as Red approached the table, balancing her lunch tray with one hand and the box tucked securely under her other arm. "What's the latest?" Rachel asked, adjusting her glasses and looking curious. Red sat down, placing the box in front of her. "I brought the box and I think there's something we've missed." And that's the end of this part. Good night. Sleep tight.